Hi, this is Manny. I just wanted to show off some of my vinyl. I'm not a big vinyl guy, I'm more of a CD guy, but here's some of my collections. Talk about it real quick. I'm going to try to make this quick. First one up, Alice Cooper, live at the Apollo Theater, Glasgow, recorded on February 1982, during his blackout period. I love this era of Alice Cooper, probably because one of the first I discovered him in. This is new wave meets heavy metal, at least metal of its time. Wouldn't be called heavy metal nowadays, I realize, or hard rock. Anyway, great live album. And on the guitar is Mike Panera, who was in Iron Butterfly for a short while. Next up, The Best of the Runaways. It's a reissue of The Best of the Runaways with a different cover that's been out for decades. Anyway, excellent overview of their very short but influential career. Here's Crocus, Headhunters, their breakthrough album. My favorite album by them. I discovered them like most people through MTV, saw them live opening for Kiss about a year after this was released. Here's Heart Attack, late 80s, the last album of the 80s. This is kind of their return to hard rock metal. After they tried going the pop metal route, it didn't quite work out for them. And by the time this album was released, unfortunately, at least in the United States, it was a little too late. But still, overall, a good album. Stars. This is a band that should have been, could have been, would have been big. Everyone thought these guys are going to be the next Kiss or Cheap Trick or at least Aerosmith. Didn't quite work out that way. Great hard rock, heavy metal album of its day. If they'd hung around to the 80s, I think Stars' story would have turned out different. And not much about to say about ACDC's Power Up, their newest album, except it's great and it's nice to see a veteran hard rock metal band back on the scene. Kiss, Lick It Up. Love this album. Great album. I bought it. I was really excited when they took off their makeup, but really they were selling a lot of sizzle and very little steak because there were only two original members. Anyway, overall, a great album. Kind of Creatures of Night Part 2, but without the makeup. This is another Record Store Day release, Doors Sessions. It's basically for hardcore diehard fans. It's just basically outtakes. I find the stuff interesting, but if you're not a hardcore Doors fan, might not be up your alley. Live at the Bowl, 1968, an excellent live album. Not their best live performance, but it was the only one that was completely filmed from beginning to end, or at least most of it. But um, and this is why it's such a revered concert, more because it just exists anyway. Just the full length version finally came out a few years ago. Husker Du's Bob Mould, Body of Song. Um, Great album and great material from him, and continues to put out quality work. This one I'm going to get a hard time about, but I like Barbara Streisand Wet. The whole theme of this album is songs about water. Um, and obviously, Barbara was trying to look a little steamy there. Another record store release, Big Brother and the Holding Company. I don't call him that. I call it Janis Joplin. But anyway, legendary Monterey Pop Festival that helped break her and them into the big leagues. This is an excellent performance. I mean, it's hard to believe one performance could break an artist huge, but this one certainly did. Also, that performance broke Jimi Hendrix. Kind of introduced the Who's live performances in as a live act to general public, and of course the great Otis Redding. Not on this album, but those are just some of the standout performances that day for that weekend. The Doors, Waiting for the Sun. This one was done under a lot of pressure. The band had tons of material that they used for the first two albums, but by then they were being forced to write in the studio. So there's a lot of these songs on here. I like the album quite a bit, but some of these songs they never performed live. We Can Come Together, Wintertime Love, good songs, but I guess the Doors just not think it was up to snuff for live performances. So. All right, Led Zeppelin bootleg, excellent boot. I love bootlegs, and Let's see, September 1990. Side 2, it's got some of the BB sessions later released on, you know, domestically, but this is a bootleg version of some live recordings. Excellent. Rolling Stones, Love You Live. Not one of their best live albums, but pretty cool nonetheless. Artwork by Andy Warhol. This is to promote, I believe, the Black and Blue album. Yeah, it is, because Ron Wood's torn with them. Again, not their best performances. And I think that club's pronounced El Macabo. I can't remember. I think it's over in Canada. Anyway, side 3 is just that performance there, which is going to get a full release apparently sometime this year on its own. Oh. Ted Nugent Penetrator. Ted Nugent attempting to go a little more mainstream. I don't know why. He was successful already without doing so. Pretty good album, actually. I know people talk about his politics. I don't give a rat's ass about his politics. Brian Howe sings in 4 tracks on here, and Brian Howe would go on to go to Bad Company, replacing Paul Rogers. Kiss, Creatures of the Night. The first Kiss album I bought is a new release, not the first one I own. First new release. My favorite Kiss album. Now, Ace is pictured on here, but as you know, he didn't play on it. It was Vinnie Vincent. Richard Page is on here from Mr. Mister uncredited. I believe there's one or other 2 guitar players. I'm not sure, but overall, excellent. Favorite Kiss album. This is David Bowie, Golden Years. So, Let's Dance became a huge hit in 1983, I believe. And so RCA's old label started repackaging some of these, just putting out these greatest hits albums that they were legally able to do to take advantage of his newfound success. So as you see the cover, it's got the Serious Moonlight Let's Dance tour outfit, but this is a majority of this stuff is way prior to that. This is the second volume of this greatest hits package, so it doesn't say so. And most of the stuff focuses on the post Ziggy Stardust, what they would call the Berlin period. My favorite artist, Jimi Hendrix Experience, live at Clark's University. This has been out on CD for years. It's a bootleg recording that the estate decided to release themselves. It's an excellent, excellent recording. This one doesn't have the interview like the CD, but during the interview, Jimmy keeps just playing his guitar, just plucking along. It's very cool. Anyway, great live performance, and I highly recommend you seek this out, even if the sound's not perfect. Blondie. There you go. Deborah Harry. I love my Deborah Harry. Anyway, this is their breakthrough album. It had like 4 or 5 hit singles, including Heart of Glass, One Way or Another. And this is what broke Blondie from a big act to a mainstream bigger act, where she was on the cover of People and things like that. This was unusual for a New York band back then, or any rock band. Another Monterey Pop Festival performance is The Who. It's only about 23 minutes, but this is where The Who won over America as a live act. Definitely one of their great performances on here. The sound quality is not that great, but historically important. It was a couple of years before The Who actually broke through on the mainstream in the United States, as far as album-wise, finally caught up with their as artists as live act. Jimi Hendrix, The Essential Jimi Hendrix Volume 2. This is Volume 1 was a 2 album set. Volume 2 was released separate years later. Actually very good. It's just the greatest hits package. Originally it came with a 7-inch of Gloria. For some reason 60s artists like to cover that song and just make the lyrics kind of un-PC. No different here. Unfortunately my copy didn't come with that. This was reissued on CD as The Essential Jimi Hendrix, combining all 3 vinyl sides, and now that has been deleted. It's no longer available, but easy to find if you're a diehard Hendrix fan. Here's Kiss, Dynasty, or Kisco. I actually love this album. Gets a lot of heat. I think the cover is very cool. Just a very cool album, and Is it commercial? Yeah, but I don't care. It's very good. Alice Cooper's Greatest Hits. I think this is to mark time. The band disbanded. Alice the man went solo. The band kind of loose ends. This is the first Alice Cooper album I ever owned. Bought it for school's out, but I became a fan of this entire album, and it's still one of my favorite greatest hits album, if not my favorite greatest hits album. Twisted Sister. You Can't Stop Rock and Roll. Discovered them because I saw their video, believe it or not, at like 2 a.m. on MTV when I was like 13. Instantly bought it. I remember taking this home and my dad looked at the back cover and he was very horrified by that image. Wasted. This is the band Pete Way and Paul Raymond put together after splitting from UFO. Actually, I think Pete Way began Fast Way and then split for whatever reason. Anyway, it's a pretty good album. I mean, it's not groundbreaking, but it's good hard rock heavy metal album when it's there. The Jimi Hendrix Experience. Are you experienced? Definitely one of my favorite albums of all time. Released in December of 1967, his second album. And the stunning musical growth between the debut and this one is just astonishing. It's hard to believe they were recording the same year, written the same year. On various tracks, Jimi Hendrix shows a strong R&B, almost Curtis Mayfield influence on a few tracks, and highly recommend it. Another Jimi Hendrix, War Heroes, released in 1972, just 2 years after his death, and already they are just, raiding the vaults to keep him going like he's still alive. All these tracks, this album's long out of print. All these tracks have been released on various Jimi Hendrix albums since the family took over the estate, but, I have a fondness for the original since I grew up on it. I think I'll stop after 2 more. This is the Kinks, One for the Road, an excellent live album released in 1980. This began the Kinks' commercial fortunes rising in the United States. They had 2 sets of new fans. They had new wave fans, thanks to Pretenders and Johnny Lydon and people like that championed the Kinks. And they also had heavy metal hard rock fans, thanks to Van Halen's cover, You Really Got Me. Also, in a year or so, MTV would start embracing them, and they would also get that audience. So, excellent live album, and you can see why they had such a huge cross-section of fans. And Ray Davies is just a great songwriter. Final one, The Doors' Greatest Hits, released in 1980. This was the album that kind of revived or a comeback for the Doors. I mean, Jim had already been dead about 9 years, but a year prior to that, Francis Coppola had used the Doors, The End, and Apocalypse Now. No One Here Gets Out Alive became a best-selling biography. Suddenly, this album came out. I think it's one of their best-selling albums, might be even Diamond at this point. Brought all their albums, at least the Jim Morrison albums, the Doors, all back on the charts for a short while, and it's a comeback that's not let up yet. Anyway, the greatest hits, 1980. Anyway, that is just a small portion of my album collection. So I rambled on too long. Sorry the video is not perfect. It's my Facebook page. So anyway, see ya.